Alright, what's up everybody? Back for another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today we are doing a video about the Dillon Brooks situation because it's getting crazy. A lot of reports, a lot of stuff packed along with this whole Dillon Brooks news and drama. I'm going to talk about it really quick. Thank you guys for the views on the vids and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you like the content, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. And yeah, so it's gonna be a little while, so don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. So Dillon Brooks has been a big talk for the last, I want to say maybe a month or two, ever since near the end of the regular season till right now. Obviously, for on the court, off the court, a lot of stuff like that. Going back into the regular season, he kind of became sort of like the villain of the NBA in a way. Just a lot of antics on the court, doing a lot of stuff off the court, saying a lot of stuff, and just kind of doing too much, honestly, in a way. Just doing a little bit extra. It's like, come on, man, you don't really need to do that. He's just doing that on purpose. So a lot of people turned on Dillon Brooks, and it didn't really help that he looked like he was kind of like embracing it in a way with some of the things he was doing. The big one was the whole Shannon Sharp incident when he against the Lakers there in LA. I think John Morant's father and Shannon Sharp got involved. Dillon Brooks got involved somehow, and Dillon Brooks called Shannon Sharp just the TV guy, or didn't know that Shannon Sharp is like a Hall of Fame tight end. So that really didn't sit right with people. And then of course the Memphis Grizzlies, I feel like in general, kind of became kind of turned on by the NBA because of also the John Morant incidents and just stuff they would do that a lot of people just didn't find that cool. And then we get to near the end of the regular season, and Dillon Brooks talking about the playoffs, and it's like, yeah, of course, we'd love to play LeBron in the playoffs. We go into the playoffs, and LeBron has some big games. It's 1-1, I think, at this point in the series. I think it was game three, before game three, where Dillon Brooks said, I don't respect anybody until they give me 40. And then LeBron comes out. They win the next two games, game three and game four, take a 3-1 series lead. Grizzlies win game five. We go into game six, and the Grizzlies lose by 40 in game six. Funny turnaround there. And the big thing that kind of everybody lost all respect for Dillon Brooks, as even throughout the entire Lakers series, every time, even in LA, Dillon Brooks would take a shot, everyone in the stadium would boo him, and every time he missed a shot, they would boo him on all this stuff. And it didn't help that he shot pretty bad in that playoff series. But the real big thing that kind of people lost all respect for him was after game three, game four, and game six. Usually, NBA players, after game win or lose, go talk to the media. It's kind of like a must have thing in the NBA. Dillon Brooks didn't show up for either of those, but he did show up for the wins. He didn't show up for game three, four, and six, and especially in game six, the eventual elimination game. He didn't even take a shower. Said he literally just got stretched and walked out of the arena. Didn't even acknowledge anybody, just left. And not a great look, especially for a guy like Dillon Brooks who talked a lot and was kind of like, yeah, a big talker, not showing up and doing the press conference, taking it, even though you lost. Just not. You're gonna lose a lot of respect like that. Like Desmond Bain did talk a little bit too, but he came up and Desmond Bain came out and talked every game, win or lose. John Morant did the same thing, even though I think it was game three or game four, one of those games he didn't show up. But he showed up for game six and was actually very honest, which I respected John for that. He came out and said, like, hey, I had a lot of off court issues that really just messed with us the entire season. I respected John for that, but Dillon Brooks not doing it, just not a great look for him. Looking back at the regular season statistically, didn't have as great of a year as he used to. I mean, the years before this, no one really, not to say cared about Dillon Brooks, but people thought Dillon Brooks was like a solid two-way player. He was coming off a career year last year, numbers-wise, even though he only played 32 games because of injury. He was pretty good. In the 2 years before that, he looked like he was going to be a very good player. But this year, not a great statistical year. He averaged 14.3 points, his lowest since his second year in 2019 when he only played 18 games. Lowest, 3.3 rebounds, 2.6 assists. He shot 39% from the field on 13 shots per game, which is horrible. The lowest field goal percentage ever for him. Shot 32% from three, his second lowest three-point percentage since last year. Shot 78% from the free throw line. Not a great shooting year for Dillon Brooks. And it's crazy because he actually took 13 shots a game. People think he didn't take a lot of shots, but actually 13.6 field goal attempts is his lowest This is 2019. The years before this, last year he took 16 shots per game, which is the most ever for him. The year before that, 15. The year before that, 14. But last year he took 16 shots, but he was good. Last year he averaged 18 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. The year before that he averaged 17, 3 and 2 in 67 games. The year before that, 16, 3 and 2 in 73 games, and shot pretty decent. He was never he was never a 47% shooter or anything, but at least he was making his shots and being effective. This year, not so much. A lot of just he's a shot taker. That's what he is. He's a shot on offense. He is a shot taker. Is never afraid to shoot that thing, even if he could be 10 for 10 or 0 for 10. He's gonna shoot it. He's one of those players on offense, and just didn't have a great shooting year. And with that, combined with all the antics and all the stuff he said, just a big cluster of just bringing Dillon Brooks down. And a lot of people turned on Brooks. And looking at his playoff series this year, the first round with the Lakers, he averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, just under 2 assists. His shooting numbers shot 31% from the field, 23% from 3, and 71% from the free throw line. Those are horrible shooting numbers. Shot 24 for 77 overall, 10 for 42 from 3. So, yeah, that whole everything put together didn't look like a great season for Dillon Brooks. And then a lot of real drama started a few days ago when Shams Charania reported saying that the Memphis Grizzlies will not be bringing Dillon Brooks back next year under any circumstances, which is insane. Because I think a lot of people knew Dillon Brooks was going to be a free agent this year, and this was a big conversation of, do the Grizzlies bring him back, even though he has been with the team so long and fits the culture, but with all the antics and all the stuff he's done, is it really right for the Grizzlies to bring him back? And it's crazy because I've never seen a team come out and already make their decision about a free agent this early. Like, they literally got eliminated on, a Friday, and then next Tuesday, they came out and was like, yeah, he's not coming back. That was crazy to me. Or at least never seen it out in public. Maybe teams already knew that, hey, we're not resigning this player, but it never was publicly announced, but reported like, yeah, this team is not bringing back next year. And under any circumstances was crazy. Everybody got kind of hooked on that part, under any circumstances. And then a lot more has come out, but staying on this for a minute, it kind of looked like it could happen. We weren't 100% sure, because Dillon Brooks does fit the Grizzlies. He's the longest tenured Grizzly, if you don't remember. He was like a steal for them. He was drafted 45th overall back in 2017, actually by the Houston Rockets, for a 2018 second round pick, which actually became D'Anthony Melton, and they played together. So that's funny. That came full circle. And he was, a steal for them coming out of Oregon. His rookie year, he played all 82 games as a second round pick. He averaged 11 points. Pretty good. Next year, he only played 18 games because he got hurt. But then he came in 2020 and kind of showed himself. I was like, oh, shoot, Dillon Brooks is actually here. And it's actually crazy because you look back at that 2020 season, that was the year that they just missed the playoffs. They got to the play-in and missed. But then 2021, he had a big year, averaged 17 points, played 6-7 games. Actually, that was kind of like his coming out party. That's when people started really learning about Dillon Brooks, because in that series, or that season, the Grizzlies made the 8th seed. I think John Morant was injured at that point, and so Dillon Brooks kind of stepped up. When he played against the top seed Utah Jazz in that series, actually won Game 1, and Dillon Brooks actually had an amazing performance. Dillon Brooks averaged just under 26 points per game with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. He shot 51% from the field, 40% from 3, 80% for the free throw line. I mean, nowadays, if Dillon Brooks did that, it would be insane. But he did that in his first ever playoff series. And that's when people kind of were like, oh, shoot, Dillon Brooks, this Grizzlies team is actually, can be a team of the future. My mistake, John Morant was not injured in that series. John Morant actually had, I remember that, because John Morant actually had a 47-point game in Game 2, but they lost. They won Game 1. They lost every game after that. That was kind of Dillon Brooks coming out. And then last year, he had a injury-plagued year, but still came out and played good. And then this year, we all know everything that happened with him. And now, expect to go into free agency as unrestricted free agent, not going back to the Memphis Grizzlies. But there's a lot more to the original report by Shams, as later it came out and said that the Grizzlies and him were talking about extensions, but Brooks turned down some extensions, and part of it was because he wanted a bigger role with the Memphis Grizzlies than just being a 3-and-D guy, which very surprising, because you see already how many shots he takes already, and the numbers that showed that he's not really an efficient scorer, efficient shooter his entire career, especially this series where he shot under 40% from the field. That's not a good thing. And him saying he wanted a bigger role is kind of crazy because he already takes a lot of shots. And thinking about this Grizzlies team, what bigger role does he want? What is he gonna? Who's he gonna replace? Because he's sure as heck not replacing John Morant. Jaren Jackson, I guess maybe on offense, still has a lot of potential that he has shown. You guys be more consistent of it. Desmond Bane is a way more efficient shooter than Dillon Brooks is. So whose role is he kind of replacing? Like he's already kind of like the fourth option on the team, and if that's kind of like the peak at this point for Dillon Brooks, like the fourth guy, because Jaren already all stars. Desmond Bane can average 20 something in a season. Dillon Brooks has averaged 18 a year, but then again that was also a 30 something game sample size. So I don't know what more of a role he wants. And he averages 13 shot attempts per game, which is third on the team. He actually takes more shots per game than Jaren Jackson does. Not by a lot, but he does. And Jaren Jackson shoots 50% from the field and 35% from three on 13 shot attempts and 4.5 3-point attempts per game. Dillon Brooks shoots 39% from the field and 32% from three on 13 shot attempts and 6 3-point attempts. And then looking at Desmond Bane, Desmond Bane takes 3 more shots than Dillon Brooks, but he shoots 8% better from the field and 8% better from three. Desmond Bane took 16 shots per game, shot 48%, and took 7 threes per game, one more three than Dillon Brooks, and shot 40%. So it's like, what more of a role do you want on this team? Like, it's honestly kind of a honor a little bit that the Grizzlies will let you take the amount of shots to be a starter, because on a lot of the other teams, Dillon Brooks probably won't take as much shots, because Grizzlies are really talented, but they're not a top 5 talent. Like, there's so many other teams that have a lot more talent, a lot more shot makers than him. So we look at other teams, I mean, what more of a role does he want? And that's going to be a big decision in his free agency when he comes up, that he wants a bigger role with more shot attempts. But what team is willing to give him those shot attempts? Like, I'm sure there's maybe some young teams that could give him a chance, but how successful are those teams really going to be with Dillon Brooks taking 15, 16 shots per game, you know? And then the story gets a little more interesting, as then on Wednesday, the day after the whole Dillon Brooks report came out, Brooks' agent, Mike George, who represents One Legacy Sports Management, he represents Jamal Murray, Kenny Lofton Jr., and some more guys. He went on Twitter and tweeted at Shams Charania, the leader of spreading false news and attacking players. While any player in the league talks to this guy, blows my mind. Hashtag weirdo. Which is funny that he used weirdo. But, so that sparked a lot of things like, so is this true? Is Shams right? Did the Grizzlies already inform Dillon Brooks he's not coming back this year? Because his agent came out and said that's false, basically. And, I mean, of course, that's his agent, that's his guy. He's going to stand up for his guy, obviously. He has to do that. And I understand why he kind of disputed that, because that kind of hurts, giving all your players value. If the team already, after they just got eliminated before free agency doesn't start for another month and a half. We're in May. The playoffs are still going on. We don't even know who's going to be in the conference finals yet. And the Grizzlies already came out and said that, like, there's already reports coming out saying, yeah, he's not coming back. Whatever happens, he's not coming back. He's going to be a free agent. That hurts the value. That shows other teams like, oh, dang, they already want him out? Then something's wrong with him. And already with all the antics and stuff going on, teams already might have been backing away a little bit from Brooks and hurting his value. And now having that happen, that just hurts it even more. So that was very crazy. And then, earlier today, this morning, more things came out by ESPN's Tim McMahon saying that the Grizzlies, quote, did not want the messaging out there, basically, Dillon Brooks is a scapegoat, we're dumping Dillon Brooks and everything's going to be fine, end quote. Basically saying that the Grizzlies weren't happy with how Shams kind of threw it out there and phrased it and made it seem like the Grizzlies are making him the scapegoat and saying, no, we don't want him back. Like, basically being disrespectful toward Dillon Brooks, which, of course, they had to kind of backtrack it because that kind of came out of nowhere. And it sounded very disrespectful, by the way, under any circumstances. Like, that was crazy. And so now Grizzlies are trying to backtrack it and kind of be like, hey, we're not like just throwing him out because we're not just throwing him out there. So maybe also kind of assuring the fact that he's not going to be a Grizzly any longer because they didn't deny the report. If that wasn't true, they would have came out and said we've never said that to Dillon or anything. But he came out and said we don't want it to seem like that's the message. So basically saying, yeah, he's not coming back, but we didn't make it seem like that disrespectful. It's just a crazy situation, man. A situation that just keeps building and building and building and all that stuff. I'm sure there's going to be more reports coming out maybe in another few days about maybe the money talk and maybe all this other stuff, how Dillon Brooks maybe responds to this. But I was thinking he's going to be a free agency. And for reports, they're saying there's still some teams interested in him. Because, I mean, there is a place for Dillon Brooks. Let's not act like Dillon Brooks is just going to be out of the league bum. Like defensively, Dillon Brooks is still there. Defensively, Dillon Brooks is still a very good wing. He's a very gritty defender, going to get up in your face. Big body, he can do that. And then offensively, he can knock down shots. It's just about how many shots he takes and his efficiency. He's not going to be efficient all the time. We've seen it. He's never shot over his career high shooting from the field is 44% in his rookie year. But then again, he only took 9 shots per game his rookie year. So with actual shots, the most he's ever shot in a season is 43%. So we know he's never going to be a crazy efficient shooter from the field or from 3. But maybe with toned down role, more shots, maybe the percentage can be better. Because there's definitely a place for Dillon Brooks in this league. There's a lot of teams that are reported. A team out there is the Houston Rockets. They have a lot of money that potentially could sign Dillon Brooks and maybe bring him in and be good. The Dallas Mavericks are a team. I think it's Chandler Parsons that came out and said a few days ago that he would love Dillon Brooks next to Kyrie and Luka. And of course, the Mavericks are always looking to get better because they had a very disappointing year this year, and Dillon Brooks could help with that defensively, especially because the Mavericks' defense was horrible last year. So bringing him in would be pretty good. I also saw some reports about maybe Miami potentially being a team that could bring him in. Like, there's definitely going to be some teams, especially playoff teams, that are going to be interested in Dillon Brooks because of his defense, and he's not afraid to shoot. He could get hot, potentially. Like, he's a solid player. It's really going to be about the other things. Is he going to be fine with not taking as many shots? Is he going to be fine with having him put into just a simple role instead of wanting to be more than that when we already seen he kind of maybe can't be more than that? And the antics. Like, what is he going to bring to the locker room? Is he going to be a distraction? And all that stuff. Those are the big questions. And those are two, unfortunately, very big questions that can change a lot of the money that you're going to get in the offseason. But I do think Dillon Brooks is going to have a role on this team. Whatever team he is, I don't know. But I just hope that Dillon Brooks can kind of find himself and kind of understand how to play and understand his role. Just understand who you are in your role and just be happy with it, and learn from your mistakes. That's what Dillon Brooks has to learn. And we'll see how crazy, if the situation gets any crazier, what happens. I'm sure this isn't the end of it, but I'm going to be looking forward to see what happens and what team he eventually goes to. Yeah, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, if you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing, turn notifications, also like that. We appreciate it. Really does that a lot. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.